Uh, Welcome everybody to EA Global Summit. This is the place where you can connect with the world's prolific Sparks EA practitioners as the one we have now. This is Madhav from the EA Summit organizing team, and we have Bob from Sparks Services Central Europe. He's a principal consultant, a speaker, and trainer, and he owns his own foundation. And we are going to look at the topic cyber security modeling. So this webinar will outline the security safety challenges of arising from the way how the systems are currently being developed. So we'll get a good understanding of how to go about it. And just before I pass on the controls to Bob, so we have our own uh, uh, Teams channel, Spark Systems Central Europe. So you can feel free to get in touch with Bob personally there. Also, you can post your questions there. We'll be taking the questions at the end, a few, but if you want to really get in touch with to learn more on what you learned from this session, Teams channel would be the best. With that, I will welcome Bob again for this wonderful session. And over to you, Bob. I'll make you the presenter.
Okay, great. All right, so I'll share my screen. And here we go. So by now you should see my screen. Thank you so much for such a kind introduction, Madhav. And yes, so my name is Bob Hruška, and besides what you already heard, I have contributed to the cybersecurity profile brought to you by Enterprise Architect version 15.1. And yeah, that was exactly the moment when we introduced the cybersecurity into the tool. All right, so we can start. 4 months ago, we were under attack. We are facing our first ever distributed denial of service attack, and we didn't know what to do. Actually, this did not happen to us, but did it sound familiar to you? In my talk today, I'll show I'll show you how you can visualize and communicate your potential security threats to all stakeholders in order to predict such an attack before that happens. In addition, you will learn about the security and safety challenges arising from the way how systems are currently being developed. You will get an understanding of the need for change in terms of potential security threat prediction. Later, you will get familiar with the concept of threat modeling and see how to model threats using the cybersecurity profile available in EA. Let's see how much time we will have. We got 30 minutes, and now, before I dig into the cybersecurity modeling, let me introduce our company. Spark Systems Central Europe was established in 2004 to serve the entire German-speaking world and beyond. We focus on providing customized assistance for European customers with language specific technical and sales support. The English word threat has many meanings. It can be used to describe a statement of intention to inflict pain, or a person or thing likely cause damage or danger. It can be used to describe an event such as hurricane damage poses a major threat to many coastal communities, and it can be used to describe weaknesses or possibility of attack, such as what are you going to do about those attacks threatening your castle walls? Speaking of a castle as an analogy, threat modeling is a fancy name for something we all do instinctively without even knowing that. If I ask you to threat model your castle, you might start thinking about the precious things within it, such as your royal family, crown jewels, and other valuable assets symbolizing your power and continuity of the monarchy. Then you might start thinking about the sorts of people who might break in and the ways they might break in, such as use a battering ram to smash down the gates or strong walls. Based on your findings, you will first address the many predictable threats your castle can face. The fortification would consist of three main design elements: the moat, the keep, and the bailey. The moat is a large earthen mound with a ditch surrounding its base. The keep on top of the moat and the castle's primary defense element. The term bailey refers to a yard formed by flattering an area alongside the moat. But one might say, what if the intruders set a fire to the walls, or fling burning material inside the walls to set the buildings inside the light? Well, right. Sophisticated fire launching techniques designed to burn down the castle were developed and used with great success. So what happened then? The Mon and Bailey design became less popular in medieval period, and new approach in castle design had emerged. And with that new approach, the great era of stone castles had begun. So, but the development of weapons was faster than the means of defense, resulting in the eventual obsolescence of the castle. So you might be wondering, what's the moral of the story? Well, threat modeling is the key to focused defense, therefore keep it outdated. All right. The way how systems are currently being developed brings lots of security and safety challenges. Let me name a few. Building automation system servers are wide open to the internet with no authentication. Backdoor service passwords on systems are published in easily obtained service manuals. Some devices have nothing even resembling security. For instance, an insulin pump manufacturers publish specifications in patent fillings for communication protocol. Hacker simply needs to buy parts or build a software-defined radio and hack the whole thing. Increased usage of third-party products, standalone device vulnerabilities, to name a few. And keep in mind that product security is not just about network or internet connected products only. Disruption or misdirection of services provided by systems and networks are not only causing data leakage or systems malfunctioning, but the organizational reputation damage. Reputation damage can have sequential effects, starting with the loss of customers, expenses of compensation, and leading to organization failure in the worst case scenario. Integration of secure development concepts into an existing development process can be intimidating and costly if done improperly. Microsoft has put a terrific effort in this matter, helping developers build more secure software by reducing the number of severity of vulnerabilities in software while reducing development cost. Microsoft SDL is a collection of mandatory security activities presented in the order they should occur and grouped by the phases of traditional software development lifecycle. Threat modeling is a core element of the SDL. Threat modeling means a lot of different things to different people. I want to be clear about what I mean when I say threat modeling. I mean a design analysis technique that's been designed to ensure that all engineers can participate, not only security expert. This contrasts with, for example, the IETF. This approach isn't wrong, but it doesn't work for everyone. Not everyone is the security expert. Generally speaking, threat modeling in software development is about ensuring that the code properly restricts users to perform only authorized actions. Secure software starts with understanding the threats. Threats are not vulnerabilities. Threats live forever. They are attackers' goal, so keep that in mind. Unlike pure verification techniques, such as penetration testing or fuzzing, Threat modeling can be performed before a product or service has been implemented. This helps ensure that a product or service is as much as possible secure by design. On the left-hand side of this slide, we have the specification or intended behavior of the application. This is what the application is supposed to do. Then the application gets coded, which is the second rightmost circle. We have actual behavior to compare to the expected behavior. This is the process of testing. Find problems, fix problems, and make the two circles merge. But functional testing only finds bugs on the left part of the Venn diagram. These are behaviors that should happen but don't. To find the security bugs on the right side, we need to train ourselves to look for what isn't there. To look in places we don't look in traditional testing. We need to think about what should not happen. In other way, just put a hat of a hacker on your hat and think how hacker could possibly harm your system. Threat modeling helps you avoiding introducing vulnerabilities and identify vulnerabilities in an existing solution. Threat modeling enables you to bring solid foundation for building secure and safety solutions addressing confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Let me go back to what I said earlier about a castle analogy and the moral of the story. Remember that? Threat modeling is not a one-time only process. For threat modeling to be effective, it must be a recurrent iterative process that starts during the early phases of the concept and continues throughout the development up to implementation phase. It's not possible to identify all threats from the beginning as the design of the system matures and implementation is in progress. Additional threats can appear. So how do we perform threat modeling in EA? That's a great question. We follow a 4-steps process. The threat modeling starts with creating a trust diagram type, which is a specially developed diagram derived from a data flow diagram. And from that diagram, for each element, we identify potential threats. For each threat, purpose mitigations. In some cases, mitigation takes the form of changing the design itself, in which case the new or changed elements must be analyzed in additional iteration. When the iterations have been implemented, the product or service is validated against the threat model to ensure that the mitigations work and that design functionality and performance are sufficient. To establish a taxonomy of the security threats, we use STRIDE. STRIDE is an acronym for the threat types of spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privilege. STRIDE is a way to find a wide variety of threats using these easy-to-remember threat types. Not all threats fit easily into a STRIDE category, and some threats might fit into more than one category. More important than fitting a threat to a category is using the model to help you describe the threat and design an effective mitigation. Microsoft uses the STRIDE model, which categorizes different types of threats and simplifies the overall security conversations. Each threat is a violation of a desirable property for a system. I will not describe each threat more in details, and as this is not the focus of this webinar. I should also say Microsoft does not only use the STRIDE. Microsoft is actually the organization which established such taxonomy for threat identification. All right, now let's see what benefits you can leverage by doing threat modeling in Enterprise Architect. Thanks to the cybersecurity profile introduced in EA version 15.1 15.1, developed in partnership with us, you can create a threat model enabling you analyze to the potential threats. So then you can trace the threats and vulnerabilities to your already existing software or systems models, create various reports using the built-in capabilities, also using the built-in capabilities such as the XMI standardized interchangeable format or OSLC. You can share your fragments of your model with the others, and you can communicate the security or the threat model with all stakeholders in a business language. So if you ever wanted to do some of these tasks referring data analysis, visualization, and communication, your threat model, Spark Systems is your vendor. Enterprise Architect supports heat map chart layout, which uses the color, size, and grouping of cells that represent specific aspects of a data set. And this is exactly what I was talking about earlier when I mentioned the business language, because we need to attract all the stakeholders, not only the security specialists. This extends this heat maps. This extends Enterprise Architect's bar chart, column chart, and pie chart features. You name it. Well, or do you feel like doing powerful model-driven reporting in web environment? Spark's Collaborate is the way to go, because it allows users to create a tailored set of views that reduce complexity and focus attention and increase the accessibility of model information for the non-modeling community, who are more concerned with consuming the models rather than creating the models. Okie dokie, so we got 15 more minutes, give or take, to do the demo, which is perfect. So I prepared for this webinar an EAP file. In the meantime, by the way, I will share the slides as well as this EAP file, what should be opening. All right, here we go. So I will share it, and you will get a benefit that everything what's in it you can explore, and you can even use the additional values what I incorporated into that. So first, let me explore what we have in the EAP file. So the techniques, how you describe or how you draw your trust diagrams, is that just like in any other architecture, you go and start with the high-level introduction of your system, which is called context, right? So you create a high-level holistic view of your system to discover the boundaries, it's called the trust boundaries, and to discover all the external entities which actually interact with your system. Before we dig into the actual diagrams, let me show you what you need to make sure that is enabled. So in the tab Specialize, Manage Technologies, make sure that the cybersecurity modeling is enabled. By default, all of these MDG technologies are enabled, and this one was brought to you as a 15.1 as the necessary part of the installation package of Enterprise Architect. So you don't need to install anything separately as long as you have the version 15.1 of Enterprise Architect. So just to make the clear message. So here's the context diagram. How do you create such a diagram? Well, this MDG technology introduces a specially developed diagram type, which I will just show you how quickly you can create that, which starts with, which gives you this specifically created toolbox enabling creating such a diagram. So you normally, what you would do, you would identify the external entities. It can be a human being, or it can be some external system. And then, as I already mentioned, such a trust diagram is derived from DFD, and DFD has these elements, data store. So this is nothing new from DAD, and the MDG actually gives you the opportunity to choose the subset of a DAD of the data store, whether it's a file, database, register, and so on and so forth. These things, if you change your mind, you can change them here in the property window. So you can change them accordingly. This has impact on the in the documentation. In the documentation, you see the type of the elements, and just like that, using the predefined MDG, you can use the relationships which, oh, in fact, this is not the right one. You can use the data flow, the external system. Actually, it should be, there should be some process, and the MDG technology, there is already predefined a quick linker, which gives you the option of a data flow, which is the right relationship between the external system and the process. And the process, usually it stores some data to data store. You can give it a name, whatever data. Just use the common sense if you create such a DFD diagram. So some data, blah blah blah, and then once it's done, you define the trust boundary of your system. The whole thing, implementation and enterprise architect, consists of, it enables you to draw such a diagram. The second part, which is analysis, which would evaluate the diagram based on some rule-based, is not implemented in Enterprise Architect. However, keep in mind that we do have such an implementation available. So if you're interested, I will show you in a moment our contacts, and you can ask us. Anyway, so that would be just very quickly showing how you can draw such a trust diagram. Here is a level 1 diagram where you actually look inside, you model the whole system, my castle, as a white box. And the idea of identification, the potential threats, is as follows. So you would have, for instance, a use case managed castle. The managed castle would consist of would use only these three elements, such as the local user, explorer, and castle service. And then you would most likely identify, again, you would use the toolbox. Once you would identify, again, manually, the potential threat. So you would create the threat like that, and then you would create a linkage between the, depends what approach you use. You can either create a relationship, the threat from between the relationship data flow and the actual threat which threatens that thing, or as you see here in this example, you can create a relationship pointing also or linking those elements with the actual threat. So the best practice depends on your organization needs. So this is just the way how you could possibly structurize all these threats, how you can group them by package, and then also what you can do, you could leverage the diagram legend, which in fact is giving you the based on these settings is this defining the color code of the threads given the whether they were started or not, like to show the progress how they were addressed. The final step, once you once you identify the threat, you need to introduce some mitigation. Again, the toolbox, the customized toolbox will help you to do that. And you have two options. Option number one is you can use the mitigation checklist. So for instance, here, if there is this threat, which is the threat type elevation of privilege. So you can say, okay, I want to use the mitigation checklist elevation of privilege, and this would mitigate, for instance, this one. These are already predefined checklists, what you should be aware of. Usually people ask me, okay, is it possible to edit these things? Of course, it is possible to do that. And you can, by simply double clicking, you can add your own checklists, whatever you want. So that was option number one. Option number two, how to mitigate the identified threats, is to use the threat patterns. So for instance, you have elevation of privilege, and before actually you identify that, you decide, okay, here is elevation of privilege, so I want to use this one, and there's automatically already linked mitigation to that. So that would be very quick introduction what you will get, and you can explore on your own. In fact, I already mentioned that. And what is even more in this model? This is the fantastic thing. This is the value added, that you will get the possibility how to leverage the dashboard, and also how you can use the heat map, including the SQL statement. So you will get it. So the SQL statement seeking for the threat priorities. So if I change the priority of some thread, so that would automatically get reflected in a heat map. That's one thing. And another thing, I also created a documentation model, which I created some customized RTF templates. And if you use those templates and use this report, you would get a document. I'm not going to generate it because it would take some time. You would get a document looking like this, where you would have the dashboard, you would have the diagram, and plus below the diagram, below each diagram, you would get the summarization of those elements visible on a diagram. And that mainly you get a list of threats. These are the tagged values, which are specific for this implementation. So the type of the threat, threat priority, mitigation state, and the description of the threat. So again, you will get that. I will post it shortly. One more question people are asking me, and that's actually another benefit of introducing the threat modeling capability into Enterprise Architect, because threat models, they don't exist on its own. They should be always connected to some other architectural views what you have. And here is an example. Since you have everything in one repository and managed by one tool, you have the great option to use the traceability and trace your threat models to the already existing models. So that's of course, I'm not saying this is the best way. I'm just saying there is the option. All right, so that would be it for the demo. And so if you're interested in trainings, consulting, not only on a cybersecurity topic, we do provide even more trainings and in fact, even more frameworks, implementation into enterprise architect. Don't hesitate to contact us at sales@sparksystems.eu. And by the way, we recently started our own YouTube channel, which you see the link over here. And on that channel, we from time to time we post very cool tips and tricks introduced by the video tutorials. So you have the opportunity to watch and learn. Okay, and that will be it from my side. Questions, comments?
Yeah. Okay, that's a great thing when you said you contributed to a 15 point, and wow, that's that's something. And I guess this is the right time for for this topic. I mean, almost all the organization, even the ones which we speak to, are moving to cloud, and I mean, coming out of their typical standard firewalls. So it's I mean, there can never be a better time than this to be and take security much more seriously, even in the modeling which we do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's true. Cybersecurity is phenomenon like nowadays, and especially when we talk about Internet of Things. So then it started to be really popular.
Yeah, right. And this question from Andy. So, how do we get started with cybersecurity modeling? If we are just doing enterprise architecture with no much thoughts on, I mean, any kind of security, what would be your advice?
Okay, the right way, the best way, the best way would be to keep in mind we are a vendor and we want to position ourselves as such. So we are not those guys who are telling you what to do, how to implement your cybersecurity in the organization. Therefore, the best way to answer your question, the best way how to start with implementing the cybersecurity or threat modeling into the security development lifecycle into your organization is to visit the Microsoft website. I don't know, for some reason I'm not able to click to it. Just a second. Yeah, now it's gonna work. Just a disclaimer: I'm not getting paid from Microsoft for this, but they've done really amazing work. So you see overview. You got a lot of practices and about the SDL, and also there is one more resource that is the OWASP. So if you want to know about threat modeling, this is actually an old page, but I think the domain is the same. So this is an organization taking cybersecurity very seriously. So all the tips on cybersecurity can be found here. And yeah, we as the vendor, we just help you to get closer to your already existing architectures in your model, and to give you the to enable you be able to draw such threat diagrams, and by using built-in capabilities of Enterprise Architect, you can generate documents out of it and create dashboards and you name it. So that's what we envision. And of course, how to start. We are considering to open trainings on cybersecurity together with our partners, because we have a partnership with the AIT organization in Austria, and those are the experts on cybersecurity. So we, as a vendor, provide as a tool provider, and they are the the knowledge of the topic. So though both of us together, we would like to yeah, here is this option as well. So again,
Okay.
if you're interested, don't hesitate to contact us at where is it? Yeah, please EU, right? So sales@sparksystems.eu. So that's us. We are
Okay.
the Austrians.
Okay, I agree on that point. And we have also tried, I mean, personally, if we do want to do something and then after 3 months, okay, let's go to the experts. So I guess anybody who want to get started, the best way to at least talk to the experts and then go for further. I'll take maybe just one more question.
Mhm.
Uh, how are you tracking threats down to actual actions against them? Is it only a mitigate and mitigation checklist, or are you using also some other connections?
Mhm. That's a very good question. There are several options how to do that. You can use the main question would be, what is the tool tracking the actions? So you can have another tool taking care of the actions, such as Jira, or you can have actually a set of actions within Enterprise Architect using the project management integration. So of course, I'm from Spark Systems, so I will talk about the second one. So in Enterprise Architect, you can you could trace those threads, thread elements with some task elements, or any other type elements representing task, and that would be the way how I would deal with that.
Okay. Next question, maybe the last. What license of EA do we need for security modeling?
I believe it's available for any edition.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
any edition is for free. So this is for free stuff. You don't need to purchase anything. So it's just a part of EA.
Okay. Okay, I guess the rest of the questions and the discussions, I mean, as you rightly said, and it would be the best would be to get in touch with Bob to discuss further on the modeling, or let's say maybe a long-term assignment as well. So we have the Teams channel for its Sparks Systems Central Europe. There has been a lot of discussions going on. You guys can feel free to get in touch with him. So thank you, Bob, for
You're very
such a
welcome.
good presentation and insightful. That was insightful, and thanks a lot, everybody, for taking time to join one more session of the EA Global Summit. And uh, bye, bye, guys. Have a good day.
Okay, great.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Bob. Yeah.
Thank you too.